This is Mamaw Alcorn's interview on the feminist movement. So the first question is, what were your impressions of the feminist movement and women's liberation?
I didn't agree with it.
Why?
I feel that feminism is more or less personal, meaning that it's up to the individual to do what they want to do. Be feminine, be not feminine, whatever.
So as far as like the feminist movement for like the legal, like giving women rights to have property and stuff like that, like the right to vote and all that stuff.
Women should have had the right to vote, yes, but that's kind of a hard question. There's no way of separating that. You're either for it or against it. I guess I'm against it.
Okay. So this one would probably be a different answer. Were you or anyone you knew involved in the movement? Why or why not?
No.
No.
It just wasn't a problem where I grew up.
And is there any one event that has happened, whether you've seen it on the news or you heard about it or you've seen it, that has changed how you think about the women's movement or your own status as a woman in society?
I suppose as a movement, it has both sides. For some women, it would be an advantage, but a lot of women really took advantage of it and overused the feminist movement.
So why would you say they overused it? What's an example?
I can't explain that, Jazz.
Okay, well maybe some of these other ones will help. Do you think women have achieved equality?
No, they haven't.
Like as far as pay and stuff like that?
No.
You think the men still kind of rule the roost?
Of course.
Okay. And what do you think are some issues women face today as far as that's involved?
Single mothers that are trying to raise children, it is a very distinct disadvantage to them.
So this one's kind of, you've raised all girls. So did you ever feel you needed to teach your girls more about women's rights and being respected? Like, was that a priority?
No. When I was raising my girls, I focused on raising them to be Christian women. Feminism was not a problem in our lifestyle.
So we talk about this in class, some of the things that they've brought up is like being Christian women and like the old style portrayal of how women were supposed to be, where they get married and they just tend to the house and the kids and the home, and they act like the women were abused a lot and things like that. You never saw that as like an issue, the people that you knew?
In a Christian home, a woman was never abused. It just was abused. Being abused is not conductive or even thought about in a Christian home.
women's rights something that was pointed out to you as important when you were younger, like when you were a kid growing up and this started to become in the news and things like this? Was this something that was ever told to you that this is important?
No.
Did you ever feel the struggle yourself, which you've kind of already touched on this? Did you ever feel the struggle yourself as a child for women, your women's rights? And what was your experience or thoughts about women's suffrage when you were a young adult?
That's another one I don't know how to answer. Read it again.
Did you ever feel the struggle yourself as a child growing up?
No.
And then what was your experience or thoughts about women's suffrage when you were a young adult and you were seeing, like, when you were seeing it in the news and stuff?
In the part of the country I was raised in, there was no mention, no thought of women's suffrage.
Being a wife and mother, did you feel pressure to fit in a specific role or fill certain expectations? And what type of things have you seen yourself happen for women's rights? Like, can you remember anything like that you've seen change, I guess?
I can give you an example of a woman misusing women's rights.
Okay.
In a marriage, both partners decided to divorce. She made more money than he made, yet she took him to court, and I don't know how she did it, but she won everything. Child support, child custody, the home.
All just because she was a woman.
All because she was a woman.
Okay. And I think that's all of them. Yep, that's it. We're done.
It wasn't hard.
This is my Granny Hembry, and I'm interviewing her today on her thoughts and the feminist movement over the years. So we'll start with the first question. What were your impressions of the feminist movement and women liberations?
Well, it was okay.
Did you feel like they were doing like good for women? Like you felt like you were getting more freedoms and it was a good thing, or you just never really thought like it affected you that much?
Yeah, I think it was a good thing.
Okay. Well, were you or anyone you knew ever involved in the movement?
No.
No? Is there any reasons, particularly why or why not, that you know of?
No, I just don't know of anyone that was interested.
Okay. And is there any one event that has changed how you think about the women's movement or your own status as a woman?
I haven't thought about it.
Okay. And do you think women have achieved equality today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of issues do you think women might still face today with the issues between women and men? Do you think there's still anything that women face?
I don't think so.
No. Did you ever feel like, since you had all boys, did you ever feel the need to teach your boys more about women's rights or respecting women growing up?
Yeah, yeah. I taught them to respect women.
And was women's rights something you saw, like, that was ever talked about as being very important for you in particular?
Would you rephrase that, please?
Okay. So do you think that women's rights was something that you saw as, like, important growing up? Like, as you got older, you thought maybe it was more important to have more rights?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess the more the better.
Right. And did you feel the struggle, like the difference between when you were younger and it was harder for women and women didn't have as many rights compared to now? Did you feel like the struggle yourself as a woman or as a young girl?
Can't tell any difference.
No. And being a wife and mother, did you feel pressure to fit a specific role? Like you had to fit the wife and mother mold? Did you feel that you had like certain expectations that you were like thought that you should do? Or
I can't think of any.
no. And what type of things have you seen yourself happen for women's rights? Like, have you seen any differences between when you were younger and now?
No.
No. And do you have any particular feelings on the subject on women's rights? Just basically that it was a good thing, probably. Women get more. Okay, those are all the questions I had listed.